So predominantly, like I started working with Tipco, and like from couple of like last years, I moved on to Mule space. But in general, like I work with like multiple B2B clients, and was some of the like previous B2B tools as well. Right now, like got opportunity to work on like APM as well. But yeah, coming to myself, like currently, like I'm acting as a like practice lead within ProvestSoft services company. There, I mean, I'm with the organization from like last 3 years. I think that is pretty much about it, about me. I'll ask like Avinash to introduce about himself. Thank you all for giving the opportunity one more time.
Yeah, thanks Rajesh. Hope I am audible to everyone. So thanks Ravi and Karthi for giving us the opportunity to speak in the Oslo Meetup group. And coming to myself, this is Avinash Hure. I'm having 11 years of total experience in integration area. I started my career in 2012 as a TIPCO BW developer, and initial 8 years I worked on TIPCO stack of products only. Later on, I was given an opportunity to work in MuleSoft, and currently I am working as a technical lead in Progress Software Services Hyderabad location. And yeah, that's all about myself. If you have any specific questions.
Thanks, Avinash.
So
I think thanks for your introduction. So maybe like we can get started, right, Karthi, with the
Yeah,
actual.
go ahead. That's it.
Sure.
Go ahead straight away.
Yeah.
Ravi seems to be in mute. Maybe he will introduce himself later at the end. Yeah.
Sure. Let me know like if you are not able to see the screen when I'm changing the slides, so that I
Yeah.
know like what is happening. Thank you. Okay, so starting with today's agenda, right? So basically, this is about Anypoint Partner Manager, right? So we start with the EDA, like what is EDA? First of all, we need to understand before going into the APM, we need to understand what is EDA and how that EDA has started. I mean, the history and standards of EDA. Then, like we wanted to give some overview about the EDA flows and the transactions, so that you have like enough knowledge before we get into the Anypoint Partner Manager in general. Then once we give like some details about Anypoint Partner Manager, wanted to correlate you about the Anypoint Partner Manager, how it can be like correlated with API-led connectivity. And at last, like after providing these details, like we wanted to give APM configurations, which would be like given by Avinash the further slides about configurations, which has like all the inbound and I mean the partner and the other configuration settings that he would be like showing up. And also like we would be following up with one of the demos, so that you understand like how exactly this can be done. So be open, I mean be interactive and ask, hey, if you have like any questions, so that we can understand what you have like gone through about APM. And if there are any questions, we are free feel we'll be like able to answer them. So let me start off with what is EDA first of all. So if you see the terminology or like a full form, right, it says like electronic data interchange. So basically, EDA is a kind of a document where we would be like transferring between two of the parties or the companies. When I say like parties or companies, these are like pretty much big retailers or a business to business customers, where we would be using these EDA documents to transfer between two of these companies. But yeah, let me like give you some more details so that you understand what is the actual definition it means. But before to that, I wanted to give you like some kind of history and jump into the EDA as well. In general, right, like when any of the transaction happens, the communication is the key factor as part of like trades or like any of the communications that we wanted to have between two of the systems or like two of the companies, right? So it started way back from 1950s or 60s, like where companies thought that when we are like initiating any kind of documents, they wanted some kind of a standards to be set in place, so that that standards can be used across and can be used between the companies. So that's how like it started. And somewhere in 1970s or so, like ANSI is like one of the organization where it created one standard set of documents for the EDA, which is called XTWL standard set of documents, which is widely used in USA. So see, no, XML is nothing but a standard of documents for each of these EDA, like let's say like purchase order or invoice or like purchase order acknowledgement or whatnot. Okay, so these are all like standards they have created in 1970s or so. From that time, like it's kind of like evolving, and they have like multiple standards over the period of time. And in the same way, like we have like in Europe, like they use Edifact, and in other areas like you see like in Europe, ODT, and as part of like healthcare, like they use separate standards called HIPAA, and also like some other various standards as well. But as I said, like initially it started with transportation, warehouse, and other industries they which started this thing and which evolved over the period of time. So if I talk about like EDA definition again, right? So it's not a system or method. Okay, it's basically like exchanging document between two of the external entities that normally happens. Okay, so if I wanted to talk a bit more about four key elements of EDA, right? So it is structured data, which is nothing but a, I mean, if you know like CSV, right? CSV is like a comma separated values. In the same way, like EDA comes with some kind of a structure, and that structure is again having some kind of documentation. That documentation, once you see, you can understand that structure. Okay, how it is like differentiated between each of them. I mean, in further slides, I'll show you like how that structure looks also. Okay, so it's a structured data between one computer to another computer. We would be translating or like sending the data in an electronic form. Okay, with that agreed message standards. Okay, so we need to have some kind of agreed message standards so that once a sender sends that, okay, the receiver can understand. Okay, here is the format, and that standards can be like taken care, and I can read that document successfully. Okay, so this is about like a definition. But if I wanted to give you a real time scenario, right, so that you can correlate and imagine like how a general business to business happens, right? So here is like one of the example. So let's like two of the companies. Okay, if I talk, okay, just take an example. Okay, Unilever and Best Buy, I mean, just taking an example. Okay, let's understand like Best Buy asked Unilever for some of the products with this much of quantity. So when Best Buy asked that one, it would send a purchase order to Unilever asking they need these much of products with this much of quantity. So once it has been sent to Unilever, there is a functional acknowledgement which would be sent back immediately saying that, hey, I have received your document. Okay, and later there is a PO acknowledgements once they receive the document, and once they say that, okay, how many products and how many quantities that they have, they say that, okay, out of 100 quantity for this product, I can only deliver it to you like 90 products. So that is called PO acknowledgement, which gives that information that I can send these many documents. Okay, so that can be sent via PO acknowledgement, that is called purchase order acknowledgement. And later in the supply chain, right, like once that document has been sent, the invoice would be generated from Unilever to Best Buy saying that, hey, for these products, you need to send me, I mean, you need to pay me this much of amount. And at last, once the products are ready, Unilever would be sending, or HUL would be sending that ASN information. ASN is nothing but advanced shipment notice. So it says that, hey, these are your products which I'm sending to you by this date and with this mode of transportation, and it will reach you by this date. So this kind of information. Okay, so this is a real-time scenario which happens on a day-to-day basis between multiple organizations, or like between B2B. Okay, I mean, I've just took like five of the documents, or like five of the business flows that over here, but there are like many various documents that comes in picture. But just to like make you understand how this happens, I just took this example. And by the way, like each of these document are like a purchase order in EDI is depicted by one unique number. If you see here, purchase order would be depicted by 850, and in the same way, functional acknowledgement 997, and so on and so forth. Like invoice 810 and ASN is 856. So each of these EDA document has like their unique number, so that we can recognize that one. And in the same way, Edifact has their own unique name so that we can understand in the Edifact standards. This is for the EDA X12 standards. They have this number. So stop me at any point, okay, if I'm going pretty fast. Okay, fine. So with this understanding of the real-time example, right? So wanted to move on and wanted to tell you like if EDA is not in picture, in olden days, how the trade or how this purchase order invoice used to happen. Okay, so here like the buyer, okay, Best Buy, I was taking an example, right? So let's say like buyer is Best Buy and supplier is Unilever. So buyer generates a purchase order, or maybe in a printed copy, or like he would like write over here. And in olden days, like they were like sending via physical mail or via fax. So once it has been sent to the other system or like other party, they would take that paper and again they would type in their systems or in their backend ERP systems. And once that PO has been sent, the invoice also would be sent in a similar fashion, where we have like intervention of like manual. I mean, here all these things are like done by the manual typing. So what does it mean? So when we are doing a manual typing, there are like lot of areas where we can go wrong, or the data can be typed wrong, or like many other scenarios can happen, which leads to a data mismatch. In turn, it leads to a business a loss, or it leads to like a lot of like time wastage. All right. So all these different kinds of scenarios that we can expect. But if we wanted to automate, or like if we wanted to bring some kind of like a methodology where human interaction is like pretty less, so that's where like this idea of like EDA has come into picture. Okay. So before moving on to like EDA, when EDA comes into picture, what happens, right? So let's say like if EDA is in picture, so the sending company would be using, let's say, I mean, just to give some more example, right? So the sending company uses SAP as their backend system, and let's say like receiving company is using a Salesforce.com as their backend system. So from SAP, if we wanted to send the data or a purchase order, SAP uses IDOC, right? IDOC as their standard format. So IDOC needs to be changed into EDA format. So there is a EDA translator in picture, which changes that format into EDA data. So once EDA data is there, using some form of a methodology, these two, sender and receiver, need to talk. So that happens between service provider or some form of a like a network would be in place, like where the data would be translated. Once the data is translated at the receiving company, what they do is they use the again a EDA translator, because they know that okay, 850 has come. Okay, this is the standards format and this is the standard rules that I need to use to convert that into some other format. So using that format, I'm changing that into a Salesforce.com format so that the receiving company can easily understand. So here I don't see like any form of like human intervention, right? So everything happens like mostly via uh, EDA form of like methodology, or like B2B is involved over here. So when it comes into picture, right? So there are like multiple advantages that can come into picture. Okay, so if you think of right, so when EDA is in place, I can think of like speed and accuracy has been like increased. Okay, it eliminates the error. Okay, it streamlines the inventory and also like increases the productivity. So that's all like EDA can be like uh, enhanced or used in the systems. Fine. So here, if you see like uh, what are the key components of EDA? As per me, the key components of EDA are like definitely buyer and the seller. If you see the extreme left is, let's say that buyer, and the extreme right it's a seller. And for them to talk, we need to have a network in place. And as I said, like their backend ERP system, if I need to change the data, okay, there are like data mapping should be in place. And also we need to have like a translator in between so that that can be understandable, that EDA document can be understandable. Fine. Moving on to the next slide. I mean, yeah. So as I was saying, right, the benefits when I use EDI, I mean, this is in detail like benefits that I see, and there are like some of the disadvantages also. I mean, these are like very minor as per me. So expensive for, I mean, if I say about disadvantages, it is very expensive for like smaller companies to like use that software and start having the B2B transactions, and they need to follow the standards which are pretty strict. Okay, I mean, to be started with, like, it is an initial cost. I mean, these are like very minor disadvantages, but just thought of like showcasing them. Fine. So until I'm talking like EDI. So I wanted to show like how that EDI document looks like and what are the normal message structure, how it looks like. Okay. So let's see one EDI document. I'll just show you one EDI document and I'll come back to this slide so that you can better correlate them. Just as a CSV format, right? EDA document looks something this. Okay, so you see like multiple lines, much of a data. On a first look, you might not understand this one, but once you understand the standards, you can easily read this, right? So each line has something. Okay, I'll come back to this slide, but just sort of showing you how EDA looks like. So going back here, so EDI comes with some kind of a standard, as I said. So if you see, it has like a segments. Each of this line is called segment. Okay, so first line is called a segment, and each of these lines are like called a segment. So here you see ISA, and the topmost and the bottommost ISA and IEA are called interchange control header, or like interchange envelope, which has some kind of a key data which says that, okay, to which seller or like which kind of a party that I'm talking to. In the same way, if you see like the next which comes in line is GS and GE here. If you see GS and GE, these are called functional groups. Okay, between functional groups, we have transactional groups, which has transactional set header and transactional set trailer, which is nothing but ST and SE. The actual data about, if I again go back to the purchase order example, right? The actual data with respect to the product number or the product name or the quantity, etc., would be sent in these envelopes, ST and SE. Okay, we can have like multiple transactional set headers. What does it mean? I mean, I can have like multiple product details I can send in each of these segments. Okay, so ISA, this transactional sets would be like closed with GS and GE segments, that is nothing but functional group segments, and that is like closed with ISA and IEA segments. So that is how like you need to read, and at last like we have a communication transport protocol on top of this. I believe like you are able to follow. With that note, I wanted to show actual EDA document. Fine. So here, if you see, like I was saying, ISA is one of the segment. So how to read this document is like each line is one segment: ISA segment, GS segment, ST segment, so on and so forth. And each segment has like multiple uh, uh, fields over here. So if you see like ISA one, I mean, I need to read it as ISA one segment, ISA two, ISA three, which is differentiated with again a star. So after star, you will be like reading it as ISA one, two, three, four, five, so on and so forth. Okay, so each of this line is uh, use some kind of like a unique here I'm using a tilde as a separator which separates the lines over here or separates the segments. So tilde I am using here. You can use like any of the like unique or special character which can be used as a line separator as well. So if you see like ISA, here some of the important segments: ISA 05, which tells about sender qualifier. In the same way, ISA 06 is sender ID. So if you see ISA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ZZ is the sender qualifier, and in the same way, ISA 06 is the sender ID. Okay, so there are like couple of important ones. I'm not going in detail, but just thought of like showing you like how it looks like. About the functional group segments, right? Some of the important ones are like GS02 and GS03. app sender code and app receiver code. So using this ones, right, GS1 and 2, I will understand, or like both sender and receiver will understand, okay, this is a unique number where sender would be using to communicate with me, and in the same way, like receiver has some kind of a unique number. And also, if you see GS01 right here, which is PO, yeah, GS01, which is nothing but PO. PO says that it's a purchase order. And at last, you see that last segment which says this is a X12 standard which has a 4010 as the version of this X12 standard. And when I come to ST, right, ST has 850. So I'm sending a 850 is the identifier EDA document that I'm sending. And one more thing that I wanted to show you here, BG 03123. This is the purchase order number that I'm sending over here. Okay. And if you see like between ST and SC, if you see ST here and SC here, in between whatever that you see is a real time data, or like a actual data that I'm sending as part of purchase order. I mean, you can use the 850 standard setup document, and there are like references where you can go in detail and understand. But yeah, just for uh, giving some kind of a details, I'm going through this. Moving on. Before moving on to any point, partner manager, any questions on EDA or like EDA document or anything?
As if anyone has any questions, please text here. And also, we would like to know, is anyone, how many people are really already working on this kind of EDA projects? And anyone using any point partner manager? So that will be great. Okay. So Rajesh, whatever that you mentioned at ISA and all, so I see that everything is separated with a star. So is it like I see the some spaces? Is it something like fixed length, or is it intentionally given some space? Is an example.
I think that's a, good question, Ravi. So yeah, each of these segments and identifiers in between, right? So they come with like a fixed length. Hope you are able to uh, like hear me now.
Rajesh, actually, there is a question from Sweta. She's asking is asking about a real time scenario for the EDA. I think you already explained. Maybe you can briefly explain if required. Sweta is asking for that.
Yes, Shweta. I mean, real time scenario, right? Like as I mean, if you have a like missed that specific slide, let me just go back and quickly show it to you. Yeah. So this is one of the real time scenario where I would be sending the purchase order, which contains about product and quantity details. Once I send it to the other party, they send the functional acknowledgement. Okay. Later, like we have like invoice, ASN, which would be like sent between two of the systems actually. So this is like day-to-day scenarios of the real-time example, which happens between two of the systems. Okay, but if you are looking for any other real-time scenario, definitely I'll be able to help you.
Yeah, you can continue, Rajesh.
Fine, fine, Ravi. Okay, now until now I was talking about EDA, but why what Anypoint Partner Manager, right? So Anypoint Partner Manager is like one of the web GUI interface which has been provided by Mule to facilitate this B2B transaction. Okay, so mostly this web UI interface, I mean, will show further in the demo, like it is used for like partner manager configurations, okay, handling the transactions, and to do like further other areas as well, like we use this Anypoint Partner Manager, right? So if you see again, like it is a cloud native low code B2B integration. So which would be used for like creating uh, the partners on the fly, or like with a very less time, with no code, I can create a partner immediately so that I can start communicating with that partner via APM tool, which is provided by Mule. So one of the features, I mean, I just saying, right, like accelerated partner onboarding. Like once I wanted to talk with any of the new partner, I can quickly onboard him on the APM. There is no code at all. Okay, it's kind of like a quick uh, uh, 1, 2, 3 like clicks. Okay, you can create that total flow, and I can start talking with the partner. And it can support like multiple protocols and formats. When I say like protocols, AS2, HTTP, SFTP, and all these protocols it would support, and also it supports multiple formats apart from EDA as well. Like I can use CSV, JSON, XML as well. Okay, easy and hassle-free partner management. So it is like pretty easy to use once I understand like where and all the settings, and where I can see the transaction management, etc., etc. We'll show you like further down in the demo. And other one is like replay transaction. So let's say like if there are any failures as part of like a transaction management, if there are any failures, I can use that replay kind of a button so that the transaction can be initiated again. Okay, so to go further more into the APM, right? So I wanted to give you like how it is like the architecture of the APM, so that you can better understand this one. So this is architecture on the cloud up. Yeah, cloud up. So here, if you see like cloud up has like multiple uh, uh, boxes, okay, which has been like created with the blue. So first one is like a receive endpoint, from where I would be actually receiving the document, EDA document. Once it has been sent here, okay, there is a document processing service which would be used to like changing the data, or like transforming the data. And we have like another box which is like send endpoint, which would be used to like send that data to the target. And also we have like replication service and payload storage service as well. So basically payload storage service is nothing but we need to create that one time setup as part of APM for the first time, which would be used to like store the payload, so that this transaction management or the replay kind of thing can be taken care. And when you see like replication service is used, or like it's kind of like one of the key functionality of APM, which would be like syncing the data between document processing service and the payload storage service. And in between, like you see like MQs are like used. All these things are like internally managed by Mule itself. So once you create a APM setup and configuration, right, so the reliability etc would be taken care automatically as part of this architecture. So that's where like MQ you can see over here. And basically like partner manager has like two important areas. Like one is configuration, where you would be doing the configuration of the host and partner, and also the activity area, where I can see like what kind of transactions are flowing between the systems. And if you see, right, so I mean here further down, you could see like we have received the data, we have like identified, validated, and transformed the data to other format, and at last like we are delivering that to the backend system. Okay, target is nothing but our backend system over here. Okay, the same thing, I mean, if I talk in like step by step like how it happens, right? So let's say source is again easy buy, and all these things like whatever the backend system that you're seeing is like a Unilever, if I take the same example. And this target is nothing but a Unilever backend ERP system where I'm sending the data into. Let's assume in that way. So first of all, like I'll get that data EDI 850 document via one of the endpoint which I am sharing with the like the partner, where they would be sending that EDA document. So I would be like receiving the document via this endpoint. Once I receive, I would be passing and validating that information. And at last, like I would be like transforming that into backend system understandable format. Once I change that one, there also have another schema so that I can validate that information, or like validate that schema whether it is in a correct format or not. At last, like I'll be sending it to the backend system using some or other format, or like some kind of an endpoint. Here, this endpoint can be again our uh, APM, our MuleSoft uh, process API endpoint or the experience API endpoint as well. So once I send this here, so using our systems, right? So we can again send it to the backend systems. So if I talk about like benefits of APM, right? So ease of use, okay, as I said, like it is like low code and I mean pretty less code, or like it's just like a couple of clicks that you can start creating the partner and you can onboard the partner easily. And flexibility, when I talk about flexibility, you have like multiple formats it supports and multiple transports also it can support. And at last, like operational management, where business would be much interested into, right? So it gives that visibility of the like transaction which is going between two of the systems, and it has like a replay functionality, and it has like end-to-end traceability of like the transaction across the systems. Now if I correlate between API led connectivity to APM, right? So as I was saying, let's assume, I mean, this is the APM layer where I'm getting the PO. Okay. So the backend system, as I was saying, like the target can be the experience layer. So once I get that information from easy buy into our Unilever APM, from Unilever APM it comes to the experience layer, and from process API and via system layer it goes to the backend system. Backend system is nothing but a SAP, let's assume. So once it has been sent to SAP, if I wanted to send invoice or 856, again the same route it would follow. It would use the invoice API which is in process layer API I have designed, have some kind of like a logic that I have written. Once that logic has been sent to the partner manager, it would again send back to the easy buy system or the buyer system. So with that information about like how APM is what is APM and what kind of like how exactly like APM architecture, I would like to like go with the APM settings, or like Avinash would be going with the APM settings. But before to that, any further questions that we have?
Yeah, thanks, Rajesh. But I have one or two. For the interest of others, I just want to ask some question like where actually, if you want to do this deployment, right? Is it only the cloud up? Which is it? Cloud up 2.0 is supported, or can we use RTF? What is your inputs on that?
As of now, like Cloud Up 1.0, like we have explored, Ravi. I think 2.0, I think we need to explore upon. And RTF also, like we need to understand more about it, Ravi.
Yeah, I
But as of
think
now, let's see
2.0
1.0.
may not be. I think they have not supported. I think the keep platform keep changing, right? As on today, I think 2.0 is not supported. If anyone
Mhm,
has
mhm.
an idea, you can share it. Maybe Abhishek and maybe another question. You are showing this diagram, right? Out of these, when you say experience API, is this which are the APIs we are going to create here as a MuleSoft developer? Is it when you say endpoint partner manager? uh, which are the APIs, which in which layer, which APIs in this layer are actually we create backend, or everything is created automatically?
Okay, so good. To answer that question, right, Ravi, this experience layer, I'm just imagining it as a partner manager where with a couple of clicks, I can create that flow, and that flow endpoint I assume that as a experience layer. Okay, I mean in the demo we can show you, but as of now, like we can correlate and imagine the experience layer is endpoint for the APM. Okay, so and all others like process layer and system layer is again and we need to create using Anypoint Studio based upon the case to case.
Okay, thank you. I think there is one question from Sai Pawan is asking, uh, is there any other format other than EDA 250, 850? I think we have different formats also, right?
Yes, Sai Pawan. So we have like different formats as well, but just for simplicity, I always use 850. But there are like multiple inbounds that we can get, and we can send like based on that inbound. Okay, we can send outbound transactions as well.
Yeah, there is another question from Mohammed saying that what is the difference between PO and PO acknowledgement? I think Balaji has responded to him. Yeah, I think if you want, you can
Thanks.
add here, but thanks, Balaji, for answering this question.
I mean, if it is there, like, yeah, thanks, Balaji.
Yeah, if you don't have any other questions, you can continue. Maybe any other questions we'll take after maybe demo or maybe in between. Avinash is taking care.
Yeah, I think we'll start up with the APM
Yeah,
settings
sure.
and followed by the demo.
Yeah, sure.
So handing over to Avinash. Yeah, thanks
Yeah,
everyone as a flow.
yeah. Thanks, Rajesh. Ravi, I think this share screen button is disabled for me. Can you make me the presenter again? Uh, I'm not able to share screen. It is disabled for me. So I don't know. Uh, can you hear me, Ravi?
I will try to check that. Meanwhile, you can start conversation. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, because I have to share my screen and explain.
Or actually, Avinash, I can see you as just 1 minute. I think. Can you check now, Avinash? Now I can see you as a presenter now. Avinash, if you are able to hear me, I can see you presenter mode and moderator mode both are
Yeah, yeah,
enabled
yeah.
for you.
That is correct, but somehow this share screen option is disabled. So can I rejoin in 5 seconds? Because
Yeah,
maybe if
sure.
I yeah, yeah,
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
just a minute.
I think until Avinash joins, like we can have like if there are any other questions, I think we can happy to answer them.
yeah, yeah. Maybe you can add some more points, Rajesh, if you really want before he joins. Okay.
Uh, yes, Ravi. I think there are some questions.
So yeah, I rejoined. Can someone make me presenter? Mm, I just rejoined.
Just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Avinash, actually, I made you. We already made you as a presenter. Okay. You can try once again, please. Sometimes it happens. I can see you as both moderator and presenter. Okay.
I don't see him here, Ravi. Maybe like he would be struggling to get that sorted
Yeah,
out.
Rajesh, I rejoined, but still that share screen button is disabled for me. I'm not able to.
Okay, do one thing, just uh, restart the browser, Avinash. That might solve
Okay.
the issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so there is one question I see here from Eduardo. Okay, so I think it is based on like, as far as I can see, this is a SaaS application completely autonomous and separate from any point control plane. Okay, so if so, please explain how long does it take to restore mappings from backups? So, if I understand, Eduardo, you are asking like if there are any issues or if the APM goes down, like what happens? Is that what you're asking?
Who is asking this question?
Eduardo, Ravi.
Just 1 minute. Isabel.
I think Ravi is trying to unmute you, Edward.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe if you want, he can try speaking. I try to make him as a presenter.
Edward, can you ask your question here?
Yeah, somehow this share screen is not enabled for me, Ravi. Uh, I don't know, but
Um,
Yeah,
in
maybe.
that case, Rajesh, do you have the demo, or because
Yeah,
I don't see any problem here. Avinash is showing me as a moderator and presenter here. Whatever that possible, we have
yeah,
enabled.
I just shared you the screenshot also that share screen
Uh,
is disabled.
okay,
Uh,
let me try.
Can you
Let's.
maybe Rajesh? Can you stop sharing it?
Yeah, I can do that.
Maybe that may be the reason. Even I'm
yeah,
not able.
yeah. Now I can see. Now I can share my screen.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
that is
what.
the reason why.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience. I'm sharing my screen.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah. Let me know if you are able to see my screen.
it's loading. Yeah,
Okay.
I will to see your screen now.
Okay. Let me go to that APM settings part. Okay. So as soon as you open the APM screen, right, this is how the page looks like. If you see the left side, you have the host profile that is nothing but the business group, and we have the partner section where you can onboard the new partners, and we have message flows where you can refer the configurations from the host profile and the partner section and create the message flows. And you have the activity, so where you can track the EDI transactions, you can view the payloads, you can download the payloads. So for this activity, I think we need the payload storage API, which is a one-time setup activity, which is mandatory for the activity section. So the name of the host profile, which is same as the the business group name. You see the Progress Software LLC, right? The name is same as the business group name. So in the host profile, we have the identifiers. So as soon as you open it, you don't see anything. You simply have the placeholders. So we need to create the identifiers and other configurations. So if you see here, we have the XQL ISA GG, which is a mutually defined identifier, which should be agreed with the partner. So yeah, we have the reference ID, which is unique, which is the unique identifier to identify the host profile.
Okay.
So let me go to the partner section. So this is the not the partner section. Within the host profile, identifier is one section, and the second one is the endpoints. So this is where you configure the endpoints. So we have different usages here. If you see the drop down, right, we have the all usages, and this is just a screenshot. I cannot show you. I'll within in the demo section, I'll show you the actual endpoints and all. So we have four types of usages. One is receive from partner, one is target at host, and another one is source at host, and the send to partner. We have four different usages. So inbound message flows, they use the, when I say the inbound, right, partner is triggering the transaction and APM will receive it and it does the required conversions. It will invoke the target system. That is the inbound. So inbound will use the receive from partner and the target at host usages. When I say outbound, we have the source at host and send to partner. Means the backend system is triggering towards the APM. APM will do the required conversion and it finally sends to the partner. So that is about the outbound. So we have different usages which is used for the both inbound and outbound. I'll explain in detail in the actual demo section. And these are all the message types. So we have the standard message types and we have the custom message types also. If you see the schema section, right, you see the keyword standard. So standard message types are by default given by the APM. So they are proprietary to the APM. So if you see X12401080, which is nothing but the invoice message type, which is given by the APM and which is a standard message type. If you want the custom message types, then you need to create the JSON schema and you need to refer it here. So yeah, we have both standard and custom message types, which can be declared, which can be created within the host profile. And this is the payload storage API. I think Rajesh was explaining about payload storage API in his presentation. This is a one-time setup activity. So this is nothing but the API which is readily available in the exchange section. If you go to the Anypoint exchange and just type the payload storage API, right, you will see lot many options. one will use the object store and one will use the database and another one will use the S3, Amazon S3. So just download the jar file from that and deploy it to your runtime manager. It will give you the URL. You just need to simply refer the URL here so that payload storage API is configured. This is, remember that this is just a one-time setup activity which is available in the host profile only. So
You said,
now,
sorry for interrupting you, Avinash. You said
yeah.
that what you need to download, you said?
So just go to the Anypoint Exchange
Yeah,
and just type the payload storage API.
yeah,
You will see different flavors of payload storage API available in the
yeah,
Anypoint Exchange. You just
yeah,
download the jar file and deploy it to the runtime manager, which will give you the URL, right? That
yeah.
URL you need to just add it in the payload storage API. I'm just highlighting it.
Understood.
You have the URL section,
Understood.
right?
Understood. Basically,
Yeah.
this is an application.
Yes.
We are giving the application URL there.
Yes. I have that code also handy in the actual demo, right? I'll just open that code and I'll explain you how it will work. The payload
Maybe.
storage API.
Okay. Well, in continuation, just I have another question. Like, usually, what storage is MuleSoft recommends?
So generally we have to use the persistent storage only. We have to go with that either the database or the S3 connector, Amazon S3 bucket. But for this demo, I have used the object store only. It depends on the requirement. If you
Okay.
are if you are if you want the archiving the data, right, then database storage is preferable. If you don't want the archiving at all, right, you can go with the object store only. But within the
Okay.
object store, you have some certain limitations, right? You have the time to live and you have the expiration period.
Yeah.
So if the time is exceeded, right, it will be deleted from the object store eventually.
Yeah.
So database is the preferred option in the real-time projects.
Yeah.
Going with the database flavor.
Okay.
Uh, okay. So shall I go to the next slide?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So yeah, I am done with this host profile configuration. Now this is where I'm going to explain about the partner section. This is where we can onboard the new partners. You have this create partner button, right? Just click on it and give some name. Partner is created, and as per the screen, you have two partners that are already created. Let me go to the next slide. So this is how the partner screen looks like. You have the about section. You can give some description about the partner. You can even give some logo also for a particular partner. And you have the identifiers in the, even in the host profile also you have the identifiers. In the partner profile also you have the identifiers. Partner also will have the reference ID which will uniquely identify the partner, and you have the mutually defined identifier also. So I think in the Rajesh was explaining about the X12 850 payload, right? So there you have ISA 08 and ISA 06. Those configurations you have to refer it in the partner profile under the mutually defined. And you have the group control header also, that also you can define X12GS.
Maybe just one question. Usually, in the real-time scenarios, there will be hundreds of, maybe thousands of partners will be there, right? Can we,
Yes.
is it any partner manager is providing? Is it required to be one by one need to be added? Any bulk? No, right? We need to do one by one only
Yeah, for
partners.
each and every partner we have to onboard a new partner.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this currently you have two partners, right? For each and every partner, you have to create a separate partner configuration using the create partner button.
But this is a one-time activity, Ravi, just to answer
yes,
your
yeah,
question. But yeah,
yeah,
for the first time, yeah, we need to do that.
yeah.
So yeah, I think this is about the identifier section. Let me go back to some other. This is the endpoints. See, this endpoint section is available in the host profile as well as in the partner profile. So if you are creating a endpoint in the partner, right, you have to use it for the particular message flow only, because message flow is associated with the one partner only. If you are like currently this is a text X12 850 partner. So if you have created the endpoint within the partner profile, you have to use within the same message flow that is associated with a particular partner. If you are creating it in the host profile, right, any partner can use that configuration. So I think I am clear, right, why it is available in both the partner section and
Can you
host
come
profile.
again? Can you come again this point?
Here, this endpoint section is available in both the host profile as well as in the partner profile.
Yes.
If you are creating a endpoint in the partner profile, right, that cannot be used by the other partners. If you are creating the endpoint within the host profile, that can be used by any partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Understood.
host profile is common for all the partners, right? So
Yeah.
partner profile is specific to that partner only. So this endpoint can be used by the message flow associated with a particular partner.
Yeah.
Okay. And one more thing, we cannot have the different usages here. We can have only send to partner and receive from partner usages. You don't have the target at host and source at host. I think I showed you right sometime back in the host profile section. We have four usages available, but in the partner profile you have only two usages. I'll show you the exact configuration in the actual demo part. Okay.
Here in this case, host will be like provide software, is right? They are
Yes, sir.
hosting this.
Yes, they are the host
So
profile.
host profiles, and are you saying that you can have multiple profiles also created for the host also?
No, no, host profile is
One
only
profile,
one in
only
number.
one, right? Yeah,
Correct,
because
correct,
we are hosting only one, but
correct.
my provides may be having multiple partners, so we can
Yes,
have a number of partners. That's
yes.
what you are saying, right? Yeah,
Correct. You can create n number of partners, but
yeah.
host profile is only one. This Provis Software Services
Yes,
LLC is the
understood,
host profile. Okay.
understood.
Okay. Fine. So these are all the XML settings. Let's say the partner is sending some 850 payload, so you can put some validation in place. I think Rajesh was explaining about the interchange control number, right? So each 850 payload is uniquely identified by a interchange control number. If you are using the same interchange control number for the other payload, it will throw you some validation. So
Is
I'll
it
run
like a
one.
transaction ID kind of thing?
Yes, yeah, unique ISA 13, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. So we can have the validation for group control number also, but in this use case, I'm going to use only the interchange control number validation. Okay. And if you see this send 997, I think someone asked the question about 997, right? Partner is let's assume a case. Partner is sending a 850 payload, which will be translated by APM and finally send it to the target system. But as soon as partner receives the 850 payload, right, it will immediately send the 997 back to the partner. So it is just like a 202 accepted if you talk with respect to HTTP
Yeah,
status code,
just
right?
accepted HTTP
Yeah, yeah.
response code.
So if we are sending if partner receives 997, right, it doesn't mean that we are the processing is completed and the target system has accepted it. It is just that APM has accepted it, and it doesn't indicate that processing is completed in the target system. Okay. I think hope this part is also clear, right? If you have any questions,
I
you can
have one
interrupt me.
question. In the
Yeah,
bottom part, you said a unique interchange control. That is the
correct.
root, right? Under that, we can have multiple. I am talking about one extol. You showed me earlier.
Yeah.
Rajesh has showed one structure. Within
Yes.
interchange, we can have multiple group controls, right? So,
E-
is it something like within the interchange? Are you expecting group control ID unique like
no,
that,
no,
right?
no. This ISA section is different and group control section is different.
Okay.
So ISA is, if you see the first line of the 850 payload, right?
Yes.
So you have some
Yes.
interchange control number.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah, that one you are talking about for checkbox.
yes,
Second one,
group control number. You have one GS section, right?
yes,
Group
GS
control.
section.
And
I know.
yeah,
My question is that,
yeah,
see, ISA is a root one. Under that, we
correct.
can have multiple group controls. Are we
Uh,
checking within the ISA? So there may be multiple things. Are you saying that within the single ISA,
mhm.
group control should have a unique ID? That's what I'm saying, right?
No, no, no. Both are independent of each other.
Okay.
I can unmark this ISA 113 and I can check only this GS60
Okay.
Euro 6 also. Both are independent.
That too within the specific X12 document, this group
Yes,
control can should be unique. You're
correct.
specific, right?
Yes, yes.
Team, I think you can also. I think we see a lot of questions are coming up, and Rajesh also asking. That's good actually, because this as just I want to tell that I see so many customers are actually talking about. Earlier we don't have this much interaction, but customers are talking about partner manager. Many customers. So that's why it's very very important. Okay, many people even they don't have partner manager, right? There is a specific access is required. That is why we request anyone who is joining here, please try to understand, also ask the questions. Okay. in future you may require to be work on this Anypoint partner manager. Okay, that's why we are keep trying to ask as many as questions. Okay.
I
Okay.
have a question. So here in the so it says for the first section, right? Received from the 997. It says 997 acknowledgement should be sent when messages fail to route to a message flow. So is this like turning off the default 997 on every time when we receive a message, and send a 997 only when there is a failure? Is that what this means?
No, it's a default only. It's
No,
it's a
what I'm saying
default.
is, so here we are saying send 997 a function acknowledgement when messages fail to route a message, when messages fail to route to a message flow, correct? So if there is a success,
Yeah.
let's say there's no failure, then no 997 is being sent, correct?
No,
Is that a
even if
correct
it in a
understanding?
success case also we are sending the 997. So I think I will go to the message flow section. There also you have
Okay,
a provision to configure 997. Okay.
okay,
Okay. So this is just in the partner X12 settings level. In the message flow section also, you have a 997 provision where you can configure the partner hosted URL for sending the acknowledgement. I'll come to your question later. This is only
okay.
for the failure cases. That is for the success case. Okay. Okay. Shall I go to the next slide? Hello. Yeah. Yeah. If no questions, let me go to the next
Yes,
slide.
Rajesh. You can do this.
So these are all the default settings that are available in the partner section. So you can explore more on it. We have the segment terminator, data element separator. These are all the default settings. You can just play with it, and you can understand more on it. Okay. So this is the message flow section, which is very important. So yeah, you have a new message flow button, right? Just click on it. So message flow will be created with some default placeholders. So as of now, if you, as per the screenshots, I have 3 message flows that are in place. Okay, let me go to the next slide. So this is the inbound message flow. So the name itself is indicating that X124010 from Mule Meetup. When I say Mule Meetup, it is a MuleSoft. It's a partner name, which is sending the 850 payload, 850 EDI payload towards the partner. So this is a inbound message flow, which has the receive from partner section, and you have a DWL file which will convert the EDI to the required JSON format, and you have the target section also, the Progress MuleSoft Dev, which is a target. So which indicates the backend system. So here we will configure the URL which we are hosting to the partner, so that partner can configure in their system and send the EDI payload. In between we have the map section which will convert the EDI payload to the JSON. So and that JSON will be forwarded to the target system. So you have the so this is the target system. This is where we configure the target system URL. You have targeted Progress MuleSoft Dev, right? This is where we configure the target system URL, so that the converted JSON will be sent to the target system. This is about the inbound message flow. So do you have any questions in the inbound message flow? Okay, let me go to the next slide. So this is the outbound message flow. I have taken 810 as an example. Let's say 850 is received by the target system. It does some required processing, and by in return it has to send the 810 also, right? So 810 is nothing but the invoice. If you see the name, right, which tells us that this is a outbound message flow you are sending back to the partner. So two partner, Mule Meetup is the partner I created, and APM is sending the 810 EDI payload to the partner. So this is a outbound message flow. So if this also has the 3 section. One is the source section, which is where we configure. This is the APM URL which we give it to the backend system. So backend system will configure the source at host URL, and we are doing the required transformation, and we are sending back to the partner. This is where we configure the partner hosted URL to send the 810 back. So I think you are clear with the 850 and so the inbound and outbound message flow configuration, right? I'll open each and every configuration in the actual demo. So this is the activity section. See, be it partner or be it target system, both will trigger a transaction towards APM. So there is somewhere we should see the logs of each and every transaction, right? So this in this activity section, we can track the transactions. We can see what is the input payload we have received, what is the transformed payload we have, we have done in the message flow. That information we can see. So I think I told you some time back, for activity section to work, we need to configure the payload storage API URL in the host profile section that is readily available in the exchange. So this is also, I think I'll explain more on it in the actual demo. So this is the custom message attributes. Let's say, because we in most of the cases we need to provide the filtering options, because if you go back to the section, this activity section, right, you will see lot many transactions, but you want to filter it using some number. For 850, this is a purchase order number, that is the unique identifier. For 810, that is the invoice number, that is also a unique identifier. You want to filter the transaction using a unique identifier. For that purpose, we need to create the custom message attributes. This is available in the host profile section. I'll explain on it in the, I'll show you the configurations in the actual demo. So this is about the custom message attributes that is needed to filter the B2B transaction using a unique identifier. Okay. So I'll go to the APM demo. So this is the pictorial representation of the demo which I am going to give. I'll start with the inbound. So in case of inbound, partner will initiate a 850 transaction towards the APM. APM will convert the EDI to the JSON format, the required JSON format as expected by the target system. So this is the targeted host URL. So APM has to configure the target URL in the configuration. This is backend API is nothing but the target API, which will invoke the target system. This is the high level representation of the inbound transaction. Here partner is the source and backend system is the target. So now backend system, let's talk about the outbound transaction. Backend system has to send the payload towards the APM. So source at host, this is the URL. APM has to give it to the backend system. Source at host is the URL. We should give it to the backend system. So backend system will convert the JSON to the required EDI format, and not the backend system, Anypoint partner manager. Backend system will typically give the JSON payload, and JSON we are converting it to the EDI, 810 EDI. And this 810 EDI is sent to the target system, I mean the partner system. So this pictorial representation is clear, right? The above part will give you the inbound transaction overview. The below part is the outbound transaction. Target, in case of outbound, target is the source and this partner is the target. Okay. So, okay, let me go to the actual APM screen. I'll explain it to you how it looks like. So this is the APM screen. So deployment target is Cloud Hub 1.0 only. As of now, it supports only Cloud Hub 1.0. 2.0 and Runtime Fabric are not supported. This is the payload storage API URL. So the service is readily available. I'll show it to you. This is the exchange section and payload storage. Just type the payload storage API. You will see different option. You have the database version of it. You have the object store version of it, and you have some S3 template also. I did not explore S3 template, but for this demo, I'm using this object store version of payload storage API only. Just download this jar and deploy it to runtime manager. It will give you this URL. So endpoints. So we have 4 usages. Receive from partner is the URL which we give it to the partner for the inbound. Targeted host is, this is also for the inbound. We have to send it to backend system, right? This targeted host URL must be given, must be configured within APM. This is the target backend system hosted URL. And we have source at host, which we expose it to the backend system to receive the outbound payloads, and send to partner is to send back to the partner. So we have 4 different usages in the host profile, and you have message types also. So I told you, right, some while giving the presentation, we have standard message types and the custom message type. When I say standards, they are proprietary to the APM, this 850 message type. So you just need to APM will give the default, and this is proprietary, not the proprietary. This is a custom message type which we need to create in the message type. So we have two types. One is standard, one is the custom, and we have 4 different usages in the host profile. And these are the custom message attributes. So why do we have to create the custom message attributes? Because if you want to filter it 850 payload using a purchase order number, so what you have to do is like you have to create a custom message attributes, and you need to refer it in the 850 against to the specific message type. So to make the filtering work in the activity section, this reference DWL is mandatory. So you just need to create the custom message attribute and refer it in the particular refer it against a particular message type. So this is mainly for filtering the transaction. And yeah, and let me go to the partner section. So Mule Meetup is the partner I created, and the mutually defined identifier is partner. And you have the endpoints. You have only receive from partner and send to partner endpoint. You don't have the target at host and source at host. If you create the endpoint here, it is used only for the message flows associated with the partner. And you have the validation settings. So this is to send the acknowledgement back to the partner. This is the control interchange control number validation. And this is the group control number validation. And we have transaction set control validation also. And message flows. So this is the inbound message flow I have created. So Mule Meetup is the partner name. So partner is sending the 850 payload towards our APM. So this is the URL which we give it to the partner so that they can configure in their system. They can trigger the EDI payload. So this is the message type, 850 message type, which we need to refer, which we have created in the host profile section. In host profile section, we have different message types, right? So we create the message types here, be it custom message type, be it standard message type. We create here and we refer it in the actual message flow. If you are confused, you can interrupt me. And this is the DWL file, which is used to convert the EDI 850 to the JSON format. This JSON format will be, this JSON converted payload will be sent to the target system. This is the DWL file, which is hosted in the message flow section. And this is the target URL. Once the conversion is done, right, we need to send the converted JSON to the target system. So this is the target system URL. Okay. Oh, this is the message type. If you are sending any payload, this is a custom message type that I created in the host profile section. If the validation also will happen, if the converted JSON is not compliant with this message type, right, the transaction will fail. We have to ensure that whatever the converted JSON that we have, that should be compliant with the message. So it just does the parsing. The parsing will be done by this message type, whether the converted JSON is in same format of the JSON or the JSON schema or not. So do you have any questions until here? So let me go to the outbound message flow. So outbound, so target system is sending JSON to our APM, and APM will do the required conversion and it will send back to the Mule Meetup. That is nothing but the partner. So this is the URL that we expose it to the target system. So target system has to configure this URL in their system. And this is the message type. When the target system sends message JSON payload, right, this will do the required parsing. Okay. And these are all the reference IDs for each. For Mule Meetup, this is the reference ID. We have to refer the reference IDs in here. Let me go to the partner section. In the partner section, I showed you one reference ID, right? So this reference ID, we need to refer it in the partner here. This is the target system reference ID. This is the partner reference ID. Okay. So this is the DWL file which will do the required conversion. It converts the JSON into the EDI. Okay. So this is the partner, this is the send to partner. So this is the partner hosted URL. So this must be given by partners, and we just have to configure it here. Okay. So this is the activity section. So these are all the message attributes. Message attributes are available in the host profile. So whatever the message attributes you create in the host profile, right, that they will reflect in the drop down section. I have created book ID, interchange control number, invoice number, and purchase order number. So same, I can see it in the activity section also, in the message attributes. So you like creating the custom message attributes is not enough. You have to refer it with the reference map. Then only that filtering will work. Okay. So I'll go to the actual demo. So do you have any questions before I go to the actual demo? I'll start with the inbound message flow. I'll start running a use case for the inbound message flow. Anyone has any questions? Okay. So yeah, I'll answer to your questions later also. I'll continue with the actual demo. So I'll run a 850 use case. Okay. So this is the inbound EDI 850 payload I have. So what I will do is I'll run this use case and I'll show it to you in the activity section. Let me run it here. Yeah, it is 202 accepted. Let me go to the activity section. Okay. I don't think it will be successful because I have already used this interchange control number. So I'll show you. See, this is a failed transaction because if you, within the partner, I have checked one checkbox, right? ISA 13. I was explaining it to you some time back. Why this transaction is failed? If you go to here, this interchange control number validation is in place. That is why this transaction is failed. Okay. So I'll show you the exact reason also why it is failed. Duplicate interchange control number. That is why it failed. So what I will do, I'll use some other interchange control number. I have to change it here also in both the header and trailer section. Okay. Let me go to the activity section. Yeah, this is successful now. You can see the timestamp. So this is the transmission ID. And this is where you can see the source payload. So this is the source payload I triggered from the postman. APM has received it. 3781. This is the unique interchange control number I have used. And this is the target payload. So target payload, how this target payload is derived. I'm using the DWL map, right? Within the message flow, I'm using the DWL file. So this DWL file will convert the EDI to the JSON format. Okay. So this is how this target payload is derived. So one more thing I have to tell you, I was explaining about payload storage API, right? If you see the payload storage API this is the source code for the payload storage API. It has both post and get methods. When I trigger a transaction, right, the post method is called and it will store the payload in the object store. When I want to retrieve the existing transaction payload, right, this get method is called. So I think you are clear on the payload storage API functionality, right? It has both post and get methods. Post is to store the payload in the object store and get is to retrieve the payload. When I trigger a transaction from postman, the post method is called internally. When I use it to retrieve the transaction of the existing, then get method is called. Okay. And we have the custom message attributes also. For this, see, this is the unique purchase order number. I'll do one thing. Let me trigger one more transaction using another unique interchange control number. This is the purchase order number. Let me give some other number. Okay. So I want to filter a transaction for using a unique purchase order number. So what I will do is like, I'll just select purchase order number and they'll give a particular value. See, this is how the filtering will work. So for the filtering to work, you have to create a custom message attribute and you have to associate it with a reference mapping. So in my case, for a 850 transaction, I have created a purchase order number in the custom message attribute and I have used it in a message type. So this is the reference mapping I created. This is alias is nothing but the custom message attribute name, and this it will go to the reference mapping. So and it will look for this BEG03. This is nothing but the purchase order number. So this is the BEG section. 01 is this one. 03 is the purchase order number. So this is how the filtering will work. And I have to tell you one more thing. So Rajesh was explaining about the replay functionality, right? So I'll explain about the replay functionality also. You just click on this transmission ID. You will see that replay functionality is there. So this is available for both the successful and the failure transaction. So failures may happen, right? Let's say the target system URL is down for due to some reason. So the target system may request us to re-trigger the transaction in some cases. So if that is the case, you can use the replay button so that the payload will be the converted JSON will reach the target system. So that is for the failed transaction. This is available for the successful transaction also. So why do we use the replay button for the successful transaction? So there is some case. So the payload, that whatever the converted payload we are sending to the target system, right? The target system has some maybe the mapping is wrong. So what you can do is like you can go to the message flow, you can correct the DWL map, and you have to redeploy it. I'll show it to you for your reference. So this is the 850 payload. This is the DWL map I have. It has their own. So we are doing some certain. We are converting it to some certain JSON format. Let's say target system is not okay with this format. What you can do is like you can download this. So you can download this.
Are you saying that the transaction is successful, showing, but target system is not ready, okay with the JSON?
Correct. So what you can, let's say they need only first 5 payloads. Let's say they are not okay with this quantity payload. You can download this, you can change it, and you can re-upload it. Okay. But every re-upload will need a separate deployment. You have to redeploy it. You can amend the DWL file. You can re-upload it again, and you have to redeploy it. After
This DWS need to be developed anywhere, right?
Yes,
Based on maybe externally we need to create and
yes, it has to be developed within the studio.
studio.
Yes, just develop it in the studio and download it save it as a DWL file, and you can refer it here.
Upload here.
Okay. So yeah, if there are any data issues with the target system, right, you can amend the DWL file. You can redeploy the code and you can replay the transaction. So you just need to click on the transmission ID and replay the transaction. So every replay will generate a new transmission ID which is associated with the old transmission ID. Let me click on this replay. Okay. So see,
but it will be recorded as a separate new transaction. Are you saying, right?
Correct. See,
you can track it. Suppose if one transaction is successful, you made some changes to the DW.
Yes.
And again you did it. So both will be identified as a separate one.
Correct. So I'll open it for you. This is the replay transaction. You can simply identify using this symbol. This symbol will be available for the replay transactions. Yeah. So if you see it, right, this is the original transmission ID. This is the new transmission ID. So new transmission ID is associated with the original transmission ID. You are clear, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the.
That means both of them are identified within the same only, right?
Not same. See, if you see the activity section, right? This is the original transaction, the highlighted one. This is the replayed transaction.
In a replayed, you can also see the original transaction that you are saying.
Yeah, original transaction ID.
ID. That's what. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So This is about the inbound. So I'll trigger one
And
outbound also.
One
Hello.
quick question. So
Yes.
can you replay only one transaction at a time, right? Let's say for a partner, their
Yes.
system is down, and we have
Yes.
like say 10 or 15 transactions failed, like
Yes.
within maybe 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever.
Yes.
But we need to go individually and then replay
Correct.
one at a time.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. You have to open the individual transaction and use the replay button. I think we don't. I don't think you can do the bulk replay.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is one. And I think, do you have any questions in the inbound? And I have to give you one more scenario. Right now, if you see the partner section, right, the mutually defined identifier is partner. Okay. If you see the host profile section, mutually defined identifier is Proves. I'll do one thing. I'll just misspell it. Okay. Let me trigger a transaction. Let's see how it will behave. Let me go to the activity section. This will fail because whatever we defined as a mutually agreed identifier is not in line with what we are sending in the EDI payload. So it will definitely fail. See, this progress is not identified. You are clear, right? Not only the target system, you can change the partner identifier also. Okay. Let's say in case of NI. Okay. Let me trigger a transaction. This will also fail because this is not available anywhere in the partner section. See, unrecognized partner, this is not there. So this part is also clear, right? This is about the mutually agreed identifiers. So in real time scenarios, this has to be mutually agreed with the partner system. Okay, this is one thing. And I'll go to the outbound scenario. So this is the payload I am triggering. This is the outbound.
Um,
Let
Avinash,
Yeah.
before that, okay, there is one question from Edward with respect to the postman trigger, I believe.
Yes.
Uh, I think like you send the body without base 64 UE encode or base 64 encoding. In the post with text mime type.
Okay. Uh, Let me read the question. I'm
Yeah,
just
a
trying
bit
to
above.
imagine.
No, can you go a little bit above?
Sure.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, here.
You send the body without or base 64 and yeah, body. See, we are defining a message type, right? Within the host profile. Let me go back to the message flow section. In the message flows, we are clearly defining what is the source payload that we are expected to receive. If you see this inbound message flow, we are clearly indicating that this is the message type that I am expected to receive. So, this base 64 encoding, I don't think. So within the message flow, we are clearly defining what is the expected message format we are receiving, and what is the conversion we are doing, and what is the expected target payload which we are sending to the target system. So did I answer your question? Uh,
Okay, there
so
is another question as well at the last from Venkatesh.
okay, let
Is
me
the
read it
APM
out.
endpoint for receiving a transaction from partner auto-generated when we
Yes.
create a message flow?
So when we create a message flow, right, it will just give you some placeholders, local host or something else. You have to deploy the message flow so that actual URL will be generated. Whatever the URL I am showing it to, right, it will not come by default. You have to deploy a message flow. After deploying only, this URL will be generated and you can give it to the partner system. I think Venkatesh, I answered your question. Uh, If you have any more doubts, you can type it so that I can answer. So
I think you can move on,
yeah,
Avinash.
I'll go to the outbound section, outbound message flow. So this is I'm going to trigger a XML payload, which will go to the target system. So target system will do the required conversion, and it will forward the message to the APM. Let me trigger it first. Okay, so it takes some time to reflect it in the activity because we have so many systems in place. Yeah, you see that this is the 810 transaction we received. So what I am doing here is, this is not the APM URL. This is the target system, the backend system endpoint. I'm sending this XML payload to the backend system, and within that backend system, I have configured the APM URL. I'll show it to you also. So this is where so as soon as I trigger the XML payload, right? This backend system, this is nothing but the Mule API. It will receive that XML and it will do the required conversion and it will invoke the APM endpoint. Okay. So this backend system is converting the XML to JSON. I'll show it to you also. This is the 810 payload. If you see the source payload, this is nothing but the JSON, because internally backend system is converting this XML to the JSON, and APM has received the JSON. And if you see the target payload, this is nothing but the EDI. So this is the 810 EDI, which we are sending back to the partner. And we have,
try to mimic the partner here, right? Just receive the JSON and receive the XML payload and convert it to JSON and invoke the
yes,
partner manager.
yes. Within that, let's assume that this is a target system. I invoked the target system API, which will do the required conversion of XML to JSON. And here I configure the APM URL. I'll show you the APM URL also. Let me go back to the, I used the, give me 1 minute. Yeah. So this is the URL, APM URL. So let me go to the message flow. I'll show the APM URL.
While doing the demo, I have many people used to ask the same question I want to ask Rajesh. Like, suppose here in this case, Provis is the host, and Provis is having four partners: partner A, partner B, partner C, and partner D. And partner A may be sending some, and that they are sending to the partner B, like that, right? So, in terms of these are the partners, but in terms of the APIs, Mule APIs, how many APIs are deployed at a backend? Is there any reusability? Because Mule document says that talks about it deploys 5 default APIs, right? So
Yes.
people get confused actually. Those APIs are going to be as a backbone, or anyone to create our own PAPIs and SAPIs, right?
Yeah, I'll explain it to you. See, we have some default APIs. As soon as you deploy the very first message flow, right, it will deploy replication service. This is the B2B API replication service. So as soon as you deploy the very first message flow in the partner manager, this service is deployed. This is so
auto generated, right?
yes, this is
It's
auto
not
generated.
created by user
Yes,
developer.
yes. And we have one more auto-generated API, which is nothing but the document processing. This is the core processing engine, which is used to parse the incoming EDI payload against the message type. And this is the core B2B processing engine, which will do the required parsing, and even the DWL file, the conversion, the parsing, and the parsing is done by this processing engine. This is also a automated engine. Okay. And I'll explain about the receiver endpoint services. Let me open a message flow. So this is a 850 message flow. Okay, here, see, runtime application name. Just copy this and search it here. Each and every message flow will deploy one runtime manager application. I'll show it here. See, so this is a receiver endpoint service which will come along with which will be deployed along with the message flow. Okay. Yeah. Same way, if you go to the 810 message flow, right? 810.
These will be as how many there, those will be uniquely deployed, right?
Yes, uniquely. This is
Whatever that we showed earlier too will be the common for everyone because those are the one, right?
yes, document processing engine and replication service. They are the common one. And sender endpoint and receiver endpoint. I showed you, right? These are the sender endpoint services. Same way, we
Yes.
have the receiver endpoint services. And you have the payload storage API also. That is a one-time setup activity. I already deployed here. So if you see the logs, right, it has both post and get call. If you
Yeah.
trigger a transaction, post call is made. If you want to see the existing transaction, get call is made. Uh, Clear, right? Any questions, Ravi? Mm.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
very
yeah.
much.
Okay. So I think there is one more question from.
So,
Can you show you?
so before to that, like Edward wanted to see the postman headers. Okay, so what that is you're
Yeah.
sending.
See, this is the inbound URL which we give it to the partner. So this is the application name, runtime application in runtime manager. We will have the receiver endpoint service, right? This will indicate the receiver endpoint application name. This is just a cloud hub. I think
Also, can you
US.
show headers as well, Avinash? I think that is where like you're
Yeah, yeah.
checking where.
So headers content type, we should pass it as a application by X12. And client ID, client secret, we can use the API manager features also for the, there is a provision. I'll show it to you. Within the message flow, not in the message flow endpoint, we can refer the auto discovery ID also. Give me one, send, no, receive from partner. So yeah, this is the API auto discovery ID. So whatever the features you have in the API manager, right, you can apply those policies. So I have applied a client ID enforcement policy. So that is why I have it here. Okay. So content type must be application by X12 and client ID client secret. They are part of API manager, and the body should be our EDI payload. And this is the message type. Okay. Clear, right? This is how the URL is generated. It has the application runtime manager application name and the zone US E2. I think US East. I think this indicates US East, and this is the cloudhub.io, and this is the message. I mean the message type, whatever you would
Thanks,
find.
Avinash.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there is another question, Avinash. Can you go to the APM? Okay, you wanted to
yeah.
see that on the left hand side partner manager, the three lines, right?
Uh,
The above partner manager, extreme left. Okay, the drop
okay.
down we can see on the partner manager, the left side, on the top, still on the top, extreme
This
left,
extreme. This one only, right, Rajesh?
on the top, still, Avinash.
Oh, this one. Okay, okay,
The
okay,
left side, just click on, yeah.
okay, okay. This partner manager. So I think we should have the license to get this feature in the Anypoint platform.
But to answer your question, Edward, once we click partner manager, we can see that, okay, I mean, go back to the back screen, Avinash, okay, where once you click the partner manager, you see this menu over here, okay, hosts and partners, message flows and activity actually. But there is nothing extra, I mean, as you were asking.
Okay. So yeah, any other questions? I think we have different filterings available in the activity section. You can filter using a partner name, direction, inbound or outbound. You can filter it. So we have date time filters also. And in addition to this, we have custom message attributes, which is used to trigger B2B messages using a particular identifier. So any other questions? Mm.
I think your demo is over,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Okay, good.
I think yeah, demo is done from Avinash, but in general, like Edward has like a lot of questions, and I hope like we have answered like most of them. But in general,
Yes.
Edward, like to your question, with respect to the restoration, I think we need to understand like okay by having one POC from our end as well, like how much time it would take to restore these APIs. But that's a good question actually. We need to see like how does it work in general.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? But it's really very good session. Thank you, Avinash and Rajesh. As I told you again, this is the many customers are trying to use Anypoint Partner Manager. We see a lot of even a MuleSoft partner and also product team is also conducting so many sessions, online sessions. Okay, it's very important you people to follow that. Okay, unless until you watch one or two times, you can't understand it. For the first who are like watching this Anypoint partner, we know in 2015-16 MuleSoft has started something, but we see drastic change. They have acquired a product and they have started. They are spending a lot. They are investing a lot on Anypoint partner manager. I think that's all from our side. Uh, We
I think
definitely see after this,
yeah,
we are going to upload this into the event page session, recorded session, so that you can watch it again. My best suggestion will be the Vignation is the guy who is from partner from MuleSoft. He is the product manager. He is conducting a lot of sessions. You can also keep joining those sessions and you can get more insights and on a regular basis what are the new features that are adding into partner manager. Okay. Yeah, Abhishek, do you have any specifications?
Hey, no, Ravi, not at this point.
Yeah, I think we are actually it's more than 1 hour 45 minutes. And thank you very much for all of joining the session. I know that it is a working day. As we already mentioned, right, we hosted this meetup to address most of the people in the Norway, because we see a lot of ask from the customers who are actually asking about the Anypoint Partner Manager. And is Karthi is there? If Karthi is there, we can please speak. Otherwise, we can close this session. Okay.
but yeah, thanks for giving that opportunity, Ravi, and thanks for the people who joined. And I believe
Yeah.
like yeah, there were like good number of questions.
Yes. Yeah. That is a good thing. Actually, I agree, Rajesh. Yeah. I think
Okay, I
we'll
think
close the session. Okay. For the interest of everyone's time, we want to close, and still we can keep in touch, and we can approach either to the organizers or the speakers. Okay.
yep. Okay,
Thank you,
thank
Raj,
you all.
Yeah, thanks,
for
Ravi.
joining.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Ravi. Thanks, Rajesh and Abhishek
Thank
for
you.
the conversation.